This video is for the solving equations foldable. So we're going to start off and we're going to do one step, two step, and multi-step. What you'll see in algebra this year are typically multi-step. So to solve a one-step equation, you're going to perform inverse operations to isolate the variable on one side of the equation by itself. So the inverse of addition is subtraction, which means the inverse of subtraction is addition. The inverse of multiplication is division, and the inverse of division is multiplication. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the opposite. So if I have 3 plus x equals negative 13, I want the x by itself. So to do that, I'm going to subtract a 3 from both sides. So positive 3 and negative 3 cancel, and I'm left with an x. Negative 13 minus 3 would give me a negative 16. Again, if you need to use a calculator to do this step, that is completely okay. So when we see problems like this, x over negative 8, that means x is being divided by negative 8. So the opposite there is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by a negative 8. So negative 8 times a negative 5 would give me a positive 40. This is going to cancel because they're inverse. Dividing and multiplying would cancel each other out, and that will equal x. Now typically we write the x first. So understand on assignments and stuff, especially the ones that are online, it's going to want the x first. So here, we always look at what's being done to the x. The x is being multiplied by negative 6 2/3. So the opposite there would be division. And so I'm going to do this one on the calculator. There's just not a lot of space to write on these notes. So if I'm multiplying by negative 6 2/3, I would need to divide this side. So to do that, I'm going to put my first fraction in, so negative 7/4, and then I'm going to divide it. And I'm going to stick this in parentheses because these calculators do not like mixed numbers. So negative 6, and then you're going to do plus 2/3. And so I put it in parentheses to indicate that that's one whole number together. So when I do that, I get 21 over 64. I feel like I missed. Okay, and I did. I messed up there because of that mixed number. So let me show you real quick with mixed numbers. So negative 6 2/3. To turn this into an improper fraction, we do the walk around Texas. So you would do 6 times 3 plus 2. 6 times 3 plus 2. Oops, sorry. Let me get on the right page here. 6 times 3 plus 2. And that would give me 20. So that would go on top, and I just carry that negative sign over, and then the 3 would go on the bottom. So if I try this again, and I do negative 7 over 4 divided by, and this time I'm going to use the improper fraction I created, negative 20 over 3, I get 21 over 80. That's what my answer should be. So we'll work some more with some mixed numbers so you guys can get the hang of them. So we do have another one here. We have 2 7/8. So that's actually my starting number, but if I want to be able to do this in the calculator, I need to turn it into an improper fraction. So 2 times 8 plus 7 would give me 23. So that would be 23 over 8. So here what I'm going to do is I would subtract this 15 from both sides. So again, I'm going to use that improper fraction that I made and subtract 15. Now I can leave it like this, or I can change it back to a mixed number. We're just going to leave it as is for now. In algebra, guys, fractions are negative 97 over 8. The form that we use because they're the most accurate. Okay, so now we've got decimals. Decimals are easy. So x minus 6.3. So to do the opposite, I would add 6.3 to both sides. Again, if you need to use the calculator, 2.9 plus 6.3 would give me 9.2. This cancels. And again, we try to write the x first. Here again, we have division. So the opposite of division is multiplication. So we would just multiply both sides by 0.2. We get negative 7/10, so x equals negative 0.7. Okay, so now on to two-step. For two-step equations, we use the order of operations in reverse. So we do order of operations is parentheses. Ooh, I missed ES, or brackets. And then we do exponents, or square roots are also a type of exponent. And then multiplication. And then division. And then this is done from left to right. And then addition. So whichever one comes first is what you do first when it comes to multiplication, division, and addition and subtraction. So addition and subtraction is also from left to right. Okay, so 5x plus 5 equals 45. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this so I've got room to work. So 5x plus 5 equals 45. So I want to knock these out first. So I have addition. So I do the opposite. So I'm left with 5x. This cancels. 45 minus 5 is 40. The x is being multiplied by 5. So I do the opposite. And I divide. 40 divided by 5 is 8. Okay. Looks like a fraction, but it's actually division. So x over 6 minus 3 equals negative 11. But I work backwards, so addition and subtraction first. So I want to get rid of this subtraction. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. This cancels. Negative 11 plus 3 is a negative 8. Now, the x is being divided by 6, so the opposite is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides. So the 6's cancel. Negative 8 times a positive 6 is negative 48. All right, lots of fractions here. So we've got, let me turn this way, 7 6x plus 4/3 equals negative 1/3. So get rid of the addition first. So I'm going to subtract 4/3 from both sides. And here is where I would start using the calculator. So 7 6x I haven't messed with. All right, so I've got negative 1/3 minus 4/3, and that gives me negative 5/3. All right, here 7 6 is being multiplied by x, so I'm going to divide the other side by 7 6. So I can leave that in my calculator as is. Just hit the division sign and it's going to say A and S. That's going to be the answer. So this answer divided by whatever I put in there. And so x equals negative 10 over 7. Okay. I'm going to stop there on that one. I don't want this video going too long. And so if you would like to answer the rest of them, you're more than welcome to, and you can come check with me to see if you got them right or not. So lastly, multi-step equations. So the first thing we're going to do is use the distributive property and combine like terms. Then we're going to use inverse operations to isolate the variable on one side of the equation by itself. And then we're going to proceed to solve the equation using the same rules for 1 and 2-step equations. Okay, so, and I know that some of you guys know how to do this in the calculator. We'll talk about that later. The main thing is you guys do need to know the rules, because there's other things that we do in algebra that involve the rules of equations. So 3x minus 4 equals 2 times negative 2x plus 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the distributive property. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 4 is a negative 12. 2 times negative 2x is a negative 4x. 2 times 1 is a positive 2. Okay, so name of the game with solving these equations where we've got a letter on both sides. We want to get the letter together first. I always tell students, move the smaller coefficient. So if 3x and negative 4x is the smallest. Okay, so we're going to do the opposite and add 4x to both sides. 3x plus 4x is 7x. Minus 12 I didn't mess with. This cancels, and I'm left with a positive 2. Now I'm back down to a 2-step equation. So now get everything away from the x. So minus 12, the opposite is adding 12. 2 plus 12 is 14. 7 times x, so the opposite is division. Cancels. 14 divided by 7 is 2. So x equals 2. Let's look at number 5. Again, just to keep this video short, you're more than welcome to work the rest of the problems. We may work them in class together. So on this one, we've got an odd little piece of distributing to do here. So remember, with invisible math, we have these invisible ones everywhere. So 2.1x minus 1 plus 4.2x. I need to distribute that sign, because technically there's a 1 there. And remember, we try to change and make everything addition. So if I add a line and change the sign, I'd have a negative 1. And this is what the problem would look like. And here's where students mess up. They forget to distribute that negative 1 out across. And all that does is it changes the sign. So negative 1 times a positive 1 is just a negative 1. Negative 1 times a positive 4.2x is a negative 4.2x. And then here, we need to combine like terms before we do anything else. So I've got 2.1 plus a negative 4.2 would give me negative 2.1x minus 1 equals 5.3. And again, it's these steps that we're going to need for other things that we do in algebra. So I'm going to add the 1 to both sides. And then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2.1. So 6.3 divided by negative 2.1. X equals a negative 3. X equals a negative 3. So I would like you to practice on the rest of these multi-steps if you have time to do so. Again, I'm more than happy to check answers for you, and we will practice this more together in class.